Good morning, I'm Dave from VEROTravels.com, and we've just recently traveled to Pai, so we thought we'd put together a little survivor's guide of how to get there. Tips coming up now. Okay, so tip number one for when booking your bus is to try and book it in the middle of the bus as much as possible. Sitting at the back will make you feel really sick. Sitting at the front, we found if you look out the front too much and you see all the twists and turns, it makes you feel just as bad. So that was tip number one. Try and book in the middle so you can get priority of where you sit. Tip number two, on the day of your travel, if you can get away with not eating, try not to eat. We know that some people really need to eat, but if you can get away with not eating and you get an early bus, then that's definitely going to help you along the way. Tip number three, definitely take the motion sickness pills. That last hour of the 4-hour journey is horrendous. We found it horrendous. Some people didn't, but pretty much 90% of people that we spoke to found it one of the most horrific experiences that they have experienced. So definitely pack the motion sickness pills. Tip number four, if you do start to feel sick, close your eyes rather than looking out at the horizon. Many people gave us advice before we went that had just come back from Pai, back to Chiang Mai when we were in Chiang Mai. Some said to look out at the horizon. That's kind of what I do sort of when you're on a boat, but in this van, it just does not work. You need to close your eyes, and you really do. You just need to try and knock yourself out as much as possible. Just try and block it all out. I do envy those people that don't get motion sickness at all. We did meet one person that said they do the route quite regularly, and they've never felt sick, and we're quite confused as why we would feel sick. But hopefully the motion sickness tablets that you take are the drowsy type. Some people don't like the drowsy ones, but I preferred them. Basically, it just means you could fall asleep even through the twisty roads. You may be banging around a bit, but if you can knock yourself out, definitely helps. So and then you just sort of arrive in Pai. You'll feel groggy, but it's worth it rather than feeling sick. Tip number five, again, if you are feeling sick, it's an odd one, but if you squeeze your left hand as much as possible, it's gonna sound odd, but trust me, it's like a general life one. It's kind of like a gag reflex one. Make of that what you will, but if you squeeze your left hand as much as possible, it will prevent you from feeling sick that little bit more. I found that it helped quite a lot, actually. Tip number six, if you are prone to being sick, take a sick bag. You will stop once along the way, kind of about an hour before it starts to get really twisty, or kind of just as it starts to get really twisty, not really early enough. But if you can take a sick bag, take a sick bag. That will definitely help you along the way, and the other passengers as well probably appreciate it, is if you're not sick all over them.
I just made the only stop of the trip, and it's time to jump back on the coach now.
Okay, so to give you a bit of background, we travelled from Chiang Mai to Pai. You can book a minivan roughly for about 200, 250 baht, depending on the company that you book with. Try and book with them directly. It will be a bit cheaper if you book with them directly compared to with your hostel or hotel. The drivers can be very different as well if you're lucky. So this is the main reason why we're going to give you this advice, because it can be such a terrible experience if you get a bad driver. There's 792 turns along, 4-hour journey, and the last hour is the worst bit. So the route from Chiang Mai to Pai, the first hour is pretty much straight, just along one straight motorway type road. That's perfectly fine. Then it starts to go up into the mountains. For the second hour is okay, it's kind of okay. But the last 2 hours, and especially the very last hour, the road is cutting straight through the mountain valley, and there's dozens of switchbacks, the U-turns. It's one of the most dangerous roads in the world because of how twisty it is, especially in the wet season. If you're doing this in the wet season, a lot of people as well, they say you can take a scooter. I wouldn't do it in the wet season. Drivers do it all day, every day, so they know what they're doing. They know the road. But saying that, some are, let's say, overconfident. There's very narrow roads, and where there's lots of traffic going up the mountain roads, you have some lorries, sort of delivery lorries or slower scooters. They will always try and overtake. And when you've got another lorry and another minivan coming the other way, you can imagine the nightmare that you see sometimes sort of flash at the corner of your eye as you're coming round a corner and you've got a big lorry coming the other way. This is why it's quite important to I mean, you don't really, it's a bit of a potluck. You don't have a choice over your driver, but some companies are definitely better than others. I think we've heard AYA is slightly better than others. That's one of the more popular ones. But then once you're in Pai, there's pretty much one main company. I can't remember the name of it. We'll write it here. I can't remember. I think it begins with a P. That's the one we took on the way back, and that was, the driver was a lot slower. This is when we sat in the front, and I took a slightly different type of pill, and I've never felt so sick in my life. My whole t-shirt was drenched with sweat. Yeah, I was probably wasn't going to be physically sick, but I felt like I was going to faint. I was feeling that ill. So yeah, that's where I was trying to squeeze my left hand as much as possible, and yeah, just hanging on for dear life until the first stop. And then once we got out of that really, really bad bit, I felt a lot better. But that's why I'm going to recommend not sitting in the front, and definitely don't sit in the back. Yeah, my best experience was sat in the middle. Yeah, I didn't feel anything when we were sat in the middle. I just sort of turned up. I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's all good. About 2 hours into the journey, the motion sickness tablets kicked in. I felt quite drowsy, but I was still awake because I wanted to sort of film it and experience the mountain roads, because it is spectacular views if you can keep awake and look out at the vistas, because it's a stunning views, absolutely stunning views. You'll never see anything like it, not in Thailand. It's amazing. But Veronika was pretty much knocked out the whole way, especially for the last 2 hours. We sort of just arrived and she was like, oh, what, are we here? It's like, yes, we're here. And then for a good hour or two after that, she was still pretty much knocked out. So she definitely didn't get motion sickness. The tablets work. Yeah, hopefully you found these tips really helpful. If you have any others and you've experienced doing the trip to Pai, please leave a comment down below. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing. Please click the bell icon to get notified, especially of that new video that's going to come up about Thailand. I'll link the playlist up here. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. In my eye.